I refuse to go on a family vacation because my sister demands that I babysit the children. I had to move out of my parents' house because I was constantly roped into looking after my 3 nephews. Despite this, last year I repeatedly found myself in the role of a helper or nanny on family outings. For instance, last year we went on a family vacation to the coast in the summer with my parents, who paid for my hotel room. However, I had to share it with 3 noisy boys because my sister and her husband wanted a separate room for themselves. I was promised some time for my own activities during the vacation, but instead, I ended up spending all my free time looking after the kids. I complained about this to everyone, but I was reminded that I was there for free. In the end, we only did one thing I wanted, which was visiting an art gallery. I like visiting galleries when I am on the coast, but the children found it boring. This year, my parents planned the same trip to the beach in June, and they thought I would go with them under the same conditions as last year. However, I refused. I said I would drive my own car and pay for the hotel myself so I could stay in a separate room. My parents were shocked and tried to remind me of the cost. I responded that it wasn't a problem as I have a good job and a decent car, so I can afford it. That's when the disagreement started, but I laid out all the reasons listed above why I would go by myself and pay for myself. I want to enjoy the vacation as an adult, not as a child. My parents told my sister. She called me and started yelling that I would ruin the entire vacation if I did my own thing while she was dealing with 3 boys. Eventually, I yelled back at her that last year she dared to drag me into her mess. I was practically unable to do anything I wanted, and was blamed when I just wanted to go to the art gallery. I am an adult man and also deserve a vacation. Now my sister isn't speaking to me, and my parents are still trying to convince me to go with them to keep the peace. I continue to refuse, but the pressure is increasing. I am being seen as selfish for not giving in. I know it will be quite difficult for them without someone to help. Write your opinion in the comments on this story. What do you think? Who is right here, the author or his sister with 3 kids? After all, raising 3 children isn't that easy. Now, we'll move on to the update to find out how this story continues. Update 1. It's only been about an hour since I posted my story, but my sister has already noticed it somehow. Now she's not only furious at me, but also upset that no one in the comments supported her. In short, she threw a tantrum claiming how hard it is to be a parent of triplets, and that I, as a young and free person, should help her. I stood my ground, and now I'm waiting any minute for a call from my parents, who she has already managed to call and complain. Update 2. Well, I finished work, so I can tell you more about what happened. I think it's safe to say that everything ended with my parents reading my post and being absolutely shocked by the unceasing stream of comments. Yes, they are very angry with me for publishing the post, but I told them that if they had listened to me initially, I wouldn't have had to do it. I was fed up with all this peace-loving policy for the sake of which I should sacrifice myself in the interests of the family. In the end, they expressed everything to my sister, and if I'm brief, the entire trip was canceled. The hotel still wasn't booked anyway, but now my parents are arguing with my sister. She blames me. My nephews cry because they now won't go to the beach. My sister called me at lunch essentially hinting that I have no life anyway, so I have time to help her. I recorded this conversation and told my parents about it, and now they are arguing. A few days have passed, and my parents said they would never make me sit with the nephews again and acknowledged that what happened last year was unfair to me. Now they are very angry at my sister for saying that I should help her because I have no life. My sister is playing the victim, and her husband basically said no to all this chaos and now spends most of his time at work. Update 3. My parents apologized, but my sister did not. At least at first. A week ago, I asked, "Am I the asshole?" The answer turned out to be negative, and my publication literally opened Pandora's box in our family. I'll tell you the whole chronology. My parents and my older sister got very used to me helping take care of her little triplets. I didn't move out of my parents' house until I was 22 because I was trying to save money while also participating in college. The scholarship provided significant support, and living with my parents saved only half the salary. I am very grateful for this. However, after college, everyone around seemed to think I had plenty of free time, and my parents convinced me to go with them on a family vacation. On this so-called vacation, I was forced to babysit my 3 6-year-old nephews, and I had to share a hotel room with them. Believe me, these kids didn't listen to a word I said. The very first night, they misbehaved until I called their mother twice. In the end, I was the bad guy when I wanted to do something else on the trip. But if the whole family didn't like it, it just didn't happen. It was extremely hypocritical because I am part of the family, but I had no say in this family. You can rest assured, I laid out all these complaints to my parents after the previous post, and they admitted they were wrong. After that already read vacation last year, I decided it was time to move out, and did it by the end of the summer, which surprised everyone. Because I didn't warn anyone. I found a great job right after college thanks to an internship, and used the move as an excuse to reduce travel time from 45 minutes to 15. Most of all, my sister didn't like this because it meant that the free help watching the kids on weekends was over. But she still tried to make me babysit them. Sometimes I gave in when they bribed me with pizza, and it became kind of a norm. But last month, my parents announced plans for another family vacation in the same place on the coast, and essentially wanted everything to be like last time. I immediately realized it was a trap. I knew that if I went with my parents and let them pay for the hotel room, I would end up in the same situation as last time. So, I just calmly stated that I would drive my own car and pay for my own accommodation. That's when the storm started when my parents realized they couldn't pull me into this again. They switched to begging, and my sister tried to practically order me to go with the flow, succumbing to manipulation and emotional pressure, but it didn't work. Then this post initially all the family was against me. My sister called my parents, and they called me when I still had a little time in the morning to talk. My parents were on the phone with me simultaneously reading my post. I asked them if there was anything untrue in the post. They somewhat evaded the answer, saying the story was exaggerated, but I pointed out many details that testified that no, the story is quite accurately presented. Then I told them to review the comments. There were too many to read them all. I was constantly refreshing the page on my computer and telling them how many comments there were. Then I said I was fed up with this peace-loving position for the sake of preserving friendship when, to please my sister, I turn out to be a victim. After that, I said I no longer had time, and we would have to continue the conversation later. My parents were horrified that within a few hours, hundreds if not thousands of people had left so many comments. Later I told them that the number of comments had almost doubled and continued to grow, which only intensified their horror. It seems they had to seriously reconsider their actions. My sister also tried to call me while I was at work, but my phone was on silent until lunch, so all she could do was leave messages. But she was persistent and managed to reach me when I was having lunch. The gist of the conversation boiled down to the fact that my post made our parents take my side, and now they are angry at her. As a result of the dispute between them, my parents canceled the entire vacation. Yes, later, they admitted that they simply shifted all the blame for canceling the vacation on me because they were ashamed, and in the end, they fully acknowledged their mistakes. They told me that no excuses could justify making me a free nanny when I didn't even live at their house anymore. They tried to back off a bit by pointing out that they never took rent from me while I was studying in college, but I reminded them that children don't ask to be born, and I was trying my best to move forward. Then I reminded them that my father had the same privileges from his parents. They allowed him to live at home for free while he was studying in college. These theses essentially overlapped any arguments from my parents. When my sister was able to reach me during lunch, I laid out the facts to her, and she showed her true face. She hinted that I have no life, and that I should spend my free weekends helping her, because she is tired and can't leave the house without someone watching the kids. She is a housewife, her husband earns well, they live in a decent house that they bought, not rented, and to be honest, my nephews are not my responsibility. They just dumped them on me and expected it to continue forever. My sister got angry and hung up, but I recorded the conversation and later played it for my parents, who were furious and started a direct war with my sister. My sister dug in her heels, blamed me with renewed force, and started telling me that my life should revolve around her. I told her that this was the most selfish and narcissistic statement I had ever heard. A few days later, her husband finally intervened and made her apologize to me. I've never seen anyone break her will like he did. She almost cried. In the end, it turned out that one of the reasons I was their default nanny was that my sister didn't trust strangers. It was never about money, or was it really? Her husband thought that my sister was paying me for the time spent with her children after I moved out of my parents' house. But no, she didn't even give me money for gas. Just a little cash so I could order pizza for myself and the kids, and I could keep the change. It turned out that my sister had been underpaying me for several months when this came up in her incomplete apologies. Her husband exploded, and she was forced to pay me the debt in cash in full from her own savings, which she, of course, didn't like. Then he apologized to me for his inaction, which allowed my sister to trample me. And he promised that they would find a normal nanny on the side. Yes, it would be a bit expensive for them, but my sister would have dates with her husband again. Then there was a family meeting the other day. We all met at my parents', and everyone apologized to me again. After that, my parents again confirmed the family vacation, and yes, I still plan to drive my car and pay for my own accommodation at the hotel. If my sister tries to dump the childcare on me again, I will stay at another hotel. I made this clear, and she promised that it wouldn't happen. In general, if a month after the vacation I no longer publish new updates, it means everything went normally. Update 4. My sister called me demanding that I delete my posts. Now she is even more upset after learning how far this whole story has spread. She called me after work and asked if comments are still coming in. She said she can't stand all this stream of negativity because she sees all these comments and they are too offensive to her. I was honest. At least 10 comments still come in daily, and most of them somehow speak of her in a negative light. She started crying and demanded that I delete my posts, but I refused. And I said she could complain to anyone, but the posts will remain because this is my guarantee that she will no longer treat me like crap. In the end, she literally believed that my life should revolve around her. She didn't pay me for babysitting work as she was supposed to, but took the money herself and forced me to be a constant nanny on the family vacation last year. So I practically couldn't rest. Is it any wonder people hate her so much if she used me like this? And when I mentioned that I even made a video about these posts, my fat-toed sister squealed and hung up the phone. Then my parents called me, begging me to delete the post. I refused, citing that I only did it because they didn't stand up for me. This would never have happened if they had told my sister that she should treat me as an equal, not as a servant. I'm not her butler, nanny, or odd job man. I'm her damn brother, and an adult man. Wouldn't they be tired of this if they were in my place? They agreed, but still begged me to delete the posts. I said I would keep publishing them if they don't start standing up for me more often when my sister starts whining. Let her sort out her problems herself because all this permissiveness towards her led to this result. I'm not her kid's father. I have my own life, a career that I'm just starting, and hopefully soon there will be a girlfriend. Because there's one I want to date. I'm moving forward in life and won't let anyone stop me. They can either step aside or continue to indulge my sister, but I told them that the latter would end badly for them. The only way to stop these new posts is to end this whole circus. My story is absolutely anonymous, and I have every right to express my perfectly justified grievances. In the end, my mother cried, my father was silent, and I said that tears won't touch me. They know what it takes to stop all this. Stop supporting my sister. Well, my sister called me again to yell that my parents told her they would no longer interfere, and that she should sort it out herself. And they told her to be kinder to me. I just imagined her screaming in her head to be kinder to my younger brother. What is this? Should I Google it? I spoke to her in a sarcastic manner, and in the end, when I was already hanging up the phone, she cried. My sister's husband then called me to hear my version of the events. He was angry that I continued to publish posts that made his wife cry, but I explained everything to him, and he said he would talk to her again. I hope that all this chaos will end there. The family vacation is still scheduled for the end of June. I have already booked my room and took the day off so we could leave on Friday. My room is not located next to those where my parents, sister, her husband, and nephews will be staying. It's on another floor entirely, and when we go to the coast, if it's not a family event, I'll go wherever I want and do what I want. And you can be sure that I will stroll through those coveted art galleries, savor the local food, and simply enjoy the vacation. As expected, it was full of both good and bad moments. The good news is that my parents didn't give in to my sister's attempts to make me a nanny. Yes, she tried. The bad news is that my sister tried to find out which room I was staying in, but it didn't work out, and she ended up in a ridiculous situation with her husband. First, I warned the hotel in advance that no one should give out any information about me except to the police. Over the phone, they assured me that they wouldn't tell anyone anything. On the day of the trip, I left earlier than everyone else. I knew they couldn't get together until 10 a.m., so I left at 9 a.m. Check-in was supposed to be only at 1 p.m., but I wanted to have a little head start. I sent a message in our group chat and rushed on a 3-hour trip. My parents were upset because they had planned a family breakfast on the way, but I said they hadn't warned me about it. So breakfast was canceled in favor of fast food, as I had planned. I arrived at the hotel too early for check-in but told the staff that I had come to make sure that my parents or sister would not be able to get my information. They assured me that they do not give out such information, but I told them that I know for sure a case when this still happens, so they need to be insured. When my mom, sister, and 3 crying boys, who will try to persuade them, approach them, they must withstand. I wanted to know if they would try to do something. The staff hesitantly promised that only I would be able to access my room. Then I decided to go eat, returned in an hour, and there were already my parents' cars and my brother-in-law's huge SUV. I went to the registration desk after making sure that there was no one in the lobby. Everything was calm. Then I asked the employee if my family had asked where I was staying. Yes, they asked, but the employee refused to tell them. My sister tried to pressure, but her husband made her shut up. I checked in, went to my room, and called my parents. I didn't mention that I knew about their attempts to give out my whereabouts, and they, of course, said nothing about it. After that, we all met and went on a tour. At some point, my sister asked me to watch her kids, to which I said hell no because I knew what she was planning. She would say that she was leaving for a short while, and then disappear for an hour. I exposed her, and her husband told her to stop trying to make me sit with the kids. What did my sister do? She immediately started crying, saying she needed a break. Her husband scolded her, saying that he was tired too, but wasn't complaining. My mom gave me an angry look, And then I approached her and said that if she even thinks about me having to watch the kids, I will leave this family vacation right now. It's not my job, and I'm tired of her and my sister behaving as if it's my duty. Alas, this brought my mom to tears, who started repeating "you're right" over and over again. It's her old trick, an attempt to look pitiful to evoke guilt in me. But I just said yes, I'm right before leaving, told her to drop it and calm down. Neither mom nor sister tried to pull something similar that day. When we returned to the hotel after dinner, my entire family was crowded at the elevator, but I didn't go with them. They asked why, and I said I would wait for the next elevator. My sister looked at me with hatred because she understood why I was doing this. Then I just sat in the lobby and watched Fat Toad on my phone for 15 minutes before going up the elevator to my floor. My room was on another floor at the other end of the hotel. The night was wonderful, and the next morning we all went to breakfast, but I deliberately waited until they left first. I was the last to leave the room, just as I was the last to return in the evening. Breakfast went well, and then I just sent a message in the group chat that I would be doing my own thing all day. My mom suggested visiting the aquarium and a couple of other places, to which I said I would meet them at the aquarium, but the rest of the day until the family dinner would be mine. They agreed, and the day went without problems. Yes, in the evening, when I was returning to my room, my sister caught me coming out of the room. She must have been walking around the entire floor looking for me. I returned to my room to rest a bit before dinner because I was very tired from long walks, and my sister happened to be nearby when I came out again to meet them for dinner. She tried to corner me and claimed that I ruined her family vacation because now it's practically no different from ordinary life for her. She still has to deal with the kids. I told her not to talk nonsense because her parents help her a lot. Yes, and I'm tired of being her scapegoat. Let her relax because the free nanny is over. She should leave me alone and deal with her life. Then I walked away while she shouted, "Hey, I'm trying to talk to you." I replied that I didn't care, and I was going to dinner. She followed me to the elevator, and we both, without saying a word to each other, went down. I didn't stay silent, and told my parents and brother-in-law that my sister had been stalking me to find my room. They scolded her like a child. She staged a pitiful scene, but I told her to stop complaining and grow up. The times when she could impose her will on me are over. Then I went out to the lobby and got in the car. The next day at dinner, I arrived first. When everyone else came, my sister looked depressed, but no one said a word about what happened yesterday, and I was fine with that. My sister avoided communicating with me all evening this time. I didn't even bother. I went up in the elevator right with them. I told everyone outright that unless there is some emergency, no one should knock on my door. A "Do Not Disturb" sign hangs on my door, not just for show. The last day went excellently. Neither my sister nor my mom bothered me. They had completely given up. Yes, during the entire vacation, I played with my nephews. I'm not a complete asshole. I just wanted to play. I even bought each of them little bags with crystals and polished stones as souvenirs. There was a bit of light drama between my sister and her husband, but these were just minor disagreements that I ignored. Overall, I would call this vacation a victory because my mother and sister finally realized that the old times when they could use me are over, and I have my own life. Update 6: Mom and sister saw my last post. They apparently don't understand when to stop. Hello, Mom. Hello, sister. I warned you that if you don't want to, I will do it again. And here I am. In short, Mom and sister read my last post and went berserk. My sister was monitoring my account because she knew I would publish something. Well, what did she expect that I would write? We all had a good time. She called me all in tears, complaining that I portrayed her as a bad mother, to which I replied, if it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. My sister continued to argue with me, but I asked her to name anything in the post that was untrue. She tried several times, but couldn't find anything significant. And what did she do after that? Of course, she called Mom. Mom came to my house demanding that I delete all the posts. I told her no, and now I have a reason for another post. In the end, I made her leave with tears in her eyes. Later, I talked to my mom and dad on the phone and bluntly told them that their indulgence of my sister led to the family relationships we have now. I will never return to the way it was before, so if they have any hope for that, I will dispel it. Then my parents told my sister to stop blaming me and leave me alone because they can no longer cope with my counterattacks. And then my sister staged a typical nobody loves me tantrum, and my parents had to bring her back to reality. My brother-in-law didn't call me. I think he's keeping neutral. But this clearly doesn't benefit their marriage or my relationship with him. So with all due respect, sorry dude, but your wife went too far. At the moment, my parents insist that my sister go to a psychologist because she is not coping with the role of a mother and needs to grow up from her old habits. As they say, in any case, I hope this is my last post. Listen, sis, if you don't stop thinking that I should be your personal servant, nanny, watchman, etc., and continue to behave as if the whole world is against you just because you can no longer control me, then we just won't be able to communicate. I hope we can sort it all out and move on if you're ready. Don't give me a reason to write something else. Treat me like a normal person, and it will all end. Fresh Update 7. My parents and I talked for a long time. They apologized, and we agreed that until Thanksgiving, I will keep a little distance. Last night, I also had a heart-to-heart talk with my brother-in-law over a bottle of beer. We just sat like two men and discussed everything without any hard feelings. He told my sister that she needs to see a psychologist, otherwise he will leave her, and now they are looking for a specialist for her. He also said that although my sister behaved atrociously with me at home, in marriage she is a very loving and sweet wife, but at the same time, she somehow admitted that she liked being the only child. There is almost a 10-year age difference between us, and my sister has long harbored resentment because of this, allowing it to accumulate. She agreed that she needs a psychologist, and they will start attending as soon as everything is organized. They also found a qualified nanny who will look after my nephews. In addition to this, my brother-in-law admitted that he too was angry with me and did not intervene when he needed his support, and we agreed that it's just a very unpleasant situation that needs to be closed. So we decided to leave everything in the past, and thanks to these posts, I got a girlfriend. The girl I liked guessed that it was me after reading them, and was just waiting for me to say something. Today we will have our first date. Thanks to everyone for the tremendous support. It was really needed. This was really the last update from the author. Write what you think about this whole story in the comments. My opinion, the author in this situation is completely right, although at times he was a bit harsh and haughty, but we are all people. I personally would love to learn to talk to my relatives like this directly, sort out all the slippery moments, despite all the drama, and in the end, come to some kind of consensus. It's very cool. Personally, I would not be able to do this. I would just cut off all contacts and shut down. And you? I would really like to learn how to do this. Thanks for watching this video to the end.